Alright, let's see if this is working. Alright, there we go. I will tweet out the link to this real quick. Alright, so let's see, I'm going to start a debug build here real quick while I talk about what the plan for today's stream is, because this might take a little while. But yeah, there's basically two things that I want to accomplish on the stream today, and hopefully it'll take about an hour, since that's usually about the duration I aim for. But I've sort of just been knocking out like random gameplay tasks this morning. So the first thing I want to do is healers and ends in the game. Right now they always charge you 10 gold for a full heal, which is the same rate that was in Gunmetal Arcadia 0. For this game, that's probably a little bit too cheap. Healing needs to feel a little bit more costly. You should feel like you have to make a decision of, okay, do I want to spend this money on healing, or do I want to save this and see if I find better items somewhere else that I can buy? So healing needs to be weighted based on how much it's worth, how much it's going to heal you, and then also it needs to be scaled based on what level you're in. So towards the end of the game, healing costs more across the board than it does at the start. So for starters, this might be like, you know, in the first level, maybe it costs 2 gold per half a heart, and that sort of thing. And then at the end of the game, maybe it's 10 gold per half a heart. The other thing there is that this will always be still a binary choice of do you want healing or not. If you can't afford a full heal, it will offer to let you pay whatever the most you can afford is for a partial heal, but you're not going to be able to like say, okay, I want to heal myself by like 1.5 hearts, so I can save this amount of money. It's still always going to be, do you want healing or not? Just as much as you can afford. So that's the first task I'm going to be working on today. The second task is recently I added. Sorry, let me just come back here and make sure the stream is working. Okay, I guess it's working. Recently, I added stone treasure chests to the game. These work like in The Binding of Isaac. You use bombs to blow them up to open them. Right now, they drop the same loot as any other treasure chest. They drop 3 items, which can be coins or gems. And I need to give these some sort of different, custom, unique loot so they can be their own thing. So what those are going to be is they will drop health. They'll either drop a big heart, which is worth 2 hearts of healing. They will drop keys. They'll have an increased chance to drop keys versus things like torches and sconces that you find throughout the world. They can drop shields, maybe drop like a large shield that's worth 2, but that actually might be too much. That might unbalance the game a little bit, so I'll see how that feels. And then they can also drop a big ammo pack. Right now, when you find the little ammo stars, those are worth 2. This will drop a big star that's worth 5. So they'll have a few different things they can drop there. Hopefully those should all feel like they're worth spending a bomb to get one of those. That should be a fairly quick task. I don't think there's really any problems to solve there. It's mostly about making the content and testing it and making sure it works. So that one should be pretty quick. The healing cost thing, that's going to take a little bit more playing around with, because even though I have some stubs in here already for that feature, I won't really know how it's going to pan out until I play around with it a bit. So I'll jump into the game right now and make sure that this is working correctly. I just put in a hack which should hopefully make ends show up very, very frequently. I haven't tested it yet though. I was compiling it as the stream went live, so we'll see if that works. But yeah, as soon as I find either a branching path or a doorway, it should be between them. And yes, it does. This is an end. You can tell because of the color palette. So yeah, rest for a while. Healer wins 10 gold to rest. Right now, it tells me I'm already fully healed. So that's how it worked in Gunmetal Arcadia 0. What I need to do instead is calculate that cost based on how much healing you can actually use. So let's see. Just looking at that calculate healing cost. So the way this works is I have the dialog tree for healers in this XML file here, and it calculates a variable that I can access through this node called actual healing cost, and that's calculated in this thing here where I output the dialog tree for healers, and somewhere in here it goes and actually calculates the healing cost and builds a string out of that and replaces that little thing in square brackets with that string. So that's what's going on there. And this calculate healing cost is where I actually figure out what that is. Now in Gunmetal Arcadia 0, I had added this function because I thought that there might be faction healers, so like Gunmetal Vanguard and Seekers of Arcadia healers, and if you had their little trinket, their sigil, they could give you discounts. I don't think I ended up actually putting that anywhere in the games, so I have this function that's basically not doing anything right now. But what this does do, let's see. Yeah, so what this does do is this looks for a property called heal rate that should exist as generic data in the data component of whatever also owns the vendor component, which will be the healer. So anyway, the point is we should have this thing called heal rate. And in fact, if I go look at one of the healer characters in here, yes, we have this set self heal rate 10. So that's where that 10 gold base value is actually coming from. And actually, I think that's redundant having this in here because I believe, maybe it's not. I guess that is necessary. So I'll probably go ahead and leave that in there. I think that I do need to specify a base value somewhere, but I'll do a little bit more with scaling it. And maybe that base value will become, 2 or whatever. Moving my window over here so I can see if there are any questions in chat while I stream. Am I programming all this in Visual Studio? Yeah, all my gameplay code is all written in C++. And I do use Visual Studio on Windows. On Mac, I use Xcode. On Linux, I use code blocks. But yeah, Visual Studio is kind of my default, and then I just port everything else over to those platforms. My editor here is written in C#, and this is what I use for like building level prefabs. And sort of a variation of the editor that I built first for Super Win the Game and then for Gunmetal Arcadia 0, and just sort of tweak it for all my different needs. So right now I'm working with like these little prefabs that are about 1/4 of the scale of each room, and it just sort of composites those together in code. Let's see. So yeah, calculate healing costs. So what I want to do here is where I have this customer handle. I guess I had the foresight to provide that. I'll look at the customer, see if the customer has health. The customer is going to be the player, obviously. Hopefully that's obvious. Look to see if they have health. Look to see if their health is less than the maximum. See what that difference is, and then scale the healing cost by that amount. So this probably all the rest of this is not going to be used, but I'll make these changes up at the top of this function so that if I have any of the stuff where I can dynamically alter rates, if I want to use any of that, it should hopefully be applied after this stuff that I'm adding today. So what I'll do first is get the health component from the customer, and this is sort of how my empty component system works, is given a handle to a thing, which a handle can be sort of a smart pointer to, it's not exactly a smart pointer, but it's kind of like a smart pointer. I mean, it's a handle. But it can usually refer to either an entity or a component or any number of other things. But I have this resolve function here, which regardless of what this handle is actually pointing to, it's able to say like, okay, the handle is pointing to an entity. I want a component, so look for a component on the entity, or it can say the handle is a component itself, so go back to its owner entity and look for something else. So it's generally able to figure out, just based on the context of what sort of thing you're looking for, how to get to that thing. So yeah, get the customer health. This should already have it. Get max health and get current health. And these are floats because health is actually a floating point value, but for the player specifically, it always gets clamped to integers. So actually, I guess I'll just assume this is an integer. And then we'll say, yeah, you know, actually, since everything else here is a float, I'll just go ahead and let this all be floats and just trust that it will actually be an integer value as a float. So for starters, I'll just, yeah, I'll just do that. Unfortunately, right, actually include the thing what was I saying? Oh yeah, unfortunately this is probably going to take a while to recompile. We'll see. Because I don't do like iterative building and linking for final release builds, this ends up being very slow. But hopefully, since I've done it once at least, it should be a little bit faster. Or else I'll just switch over to debug builds because those go faster. I probably will also need to change this dialog tree a little bit, because there are a few things. Well, yeah, I'll need to think about this because probably the way it worked in the past is you have two options. So you have rest, and that has the cost next to it, and then you have exit. And this time, since the cost is going to change, if you're already at full health, it would look strange to say like rest 0 gold, and then you click on that and says, so you can't use healing. So I might just want to immediately say like, hi, welcome to the end. We can't do anything for you right now. But then also, if the healing cost is more than you can afford, it needs to represent that somehow. It needs to maybe change that string, so instead of saying rest, it will say like partial healing or something. I don't know. I'll need to figure out what exactly that sort of messaging will be, but in any case, this should be at least a working bare bones implementation. We'll see. Now, you know what, I should also... why isn't this in? I guess my hack to make everything be ends is not working correctly. But what I should do is... Alright, here we go. This is while I'm thinking about it, while I'm saying it, I can save off this fixed time seed, which will let me re-roll the same random level next time. Alright, so I rest for a while here. Alright, so I'm at maximum healing, so the cost is 0. That's what I expect. Now what I will do is go take some damage first, and make sure that works for me. So use the shield first. Some damage there. Alright, so this time I would expect the cost to be 30 gold, because it should be that base 10 gold times 1.5 hearts, but that's actually 3 because each half heart is 1. So yeah, 30 gold. So that's working correct. Well, yeah, if I try this, can't afford to stay here. So what I would really like to do is, for instance, if I had 10 gold right now, it would say, partial rest, 10 gold, and it would only heal me that 1 half heart there. So scaling by available health, that works correctly. Now it's just figuring out what the messaging is going to be for when you can't afford all of that. Oh, and the other thing I was going to do was go to the scene component here, and where I had copied off that fixed time seed from the game, I'll just put that in here and and this will probably take like a minute or two to compile again. Oh wait, I need to have the XKCD comic ready. Yeah, there we go. All right, so let's see. Because what I'm already doing is, if I remember how this dialogue tree works, right? So I have an option for healing, and this, if I look up in the file vendors.txt under general, yes. This isn't like that. Oh, right. So yeah, first I have the option to rest, and if I go down here, oh, I guess the exit option is coming from somewhere else. So this is just the rest option. Under there, you'll ask me to confirm that, and let's see, this confirm rest, which would be, where is that? Yeah, will you stay in rest for whatever the cost is. And then needs healing. This is where it checks to see, like, can you actually use healing? Is your health under the maximum? Which may be kind of redundant now that I'm calculating this in advance, effectively. But then, yeah, then if you need healing, then it goes and checks to see if coins is greater than or equal to the actual healing cost. If it is, we heal other. In this case, is the player, so we heal the other player, the other character to their cap. And then notify rested is the thing that says you rest and recover your health. If we don't have enough money, then we display cannot rest. Cannot rest because you don't have money. Otherwise, we come back to this first condition. Needs healing. If you don't need healing, it notifies you that you're already at full health. So I'll have to update this a little bit and figure out. Trying to think. I don't recall whether I can put option nodes inside a query. I think I can. So what I should be able to do is say, like, if you need healing, it actually adds the option. Otherwise, literally the only thing you'll be able to do is exit. So I will try that and see what happens. So I will, right now I'll just make a copy of this. So all of this should be inside the true node. And the false node doesn't need anything at all. I think that will work. Because this is an XML file, it does not need to be compiled, but I do need to run my own rebuild content script on that, and we should see. Oh, and that crashed for some reason. Did I not close node correctly? Yeah, right. Well, I'm glad that it crashed instead of reporting that as a error. Let's try that again. All right, there. So yeah, it compiles the XML file to a definition, a binary file that I can load more quickly. Yeah, so I'll see what this does. See if this works correctly. My expectation now, as I said, is I should talk to the healer, and if I'm at full health, it won't even give me the option to rest. It will literally just be like, hi, welcome to the end, and the only thing I can do is select exit. So we'll see. Rest for a while, heal your wounds. Oh, that's not good. Huh. Okay, I'm not sure why that is. I guess maybe I can't wrap options in conditional queries. I could have sworn I had that ability. I don't want to investigate that too much on stream because my dialogue system is some really ugly code, and I don't want to spend too much time just like trying to figure out what's going on there. I might look into solving that later. For right now, I'll just go ahead and not do that. I'll make use of the existing rest option in some way. So let's see, what will I do? So what I'll do instead is, after you select rest, then, well, no, because I feel like I need to do something different with that option. Oh, well, yeah, you know what I'll do is, I will check for whatever the maximum amount of money the player has here. Actually, all right, yeah. So I was thinking as I was saying that I need to check for the maximum amount of money the player has here, but I can't just clamp to that value because that let's say you have 25 gold, and you would either heal for 20 gold for 1 heart or 30 gold for 1.5. Well, you don't want to just clamp to the 25 that you have. You want to clamp to the 20. You want to clamp to the largest whole integer multiple of whatever the space value is. So I'm going to move this down to after I do any sort of dynamic rate scaling before I round to the integer. So down here, this is where it will check for how much health you have left. Everything above that will be a scalar on an individual unit of health, which, because it's all just multipliers anyway, I believe. Yeah, it should all just be multipliers, so it doesn't matter really what order those get applied in. But then what I can do down here is I will know, what a single unit of health costs. So let's see. I need to get the data component for the customer. The data component is just a place that I can store like arbitrarily named variables. So a lot of the things that the player can carry, things like coins, ammo, bombs, all that stuff, those are just kind of named variables. It's like, here's an integer. It's called, num ammo or num bombs or whatever. Sort of a way of trying to push gameplay concepts out of C code and into XML scripting markup stuff. So I believe I called that coins. Yeah, coins. And if I remember how this works, get data, what do I call that? Get value? Yeah. Get value, coins, get that parameter, player coins. We'll assert that this is an integer. Oh, I think I can also say, so this will return true if that were found, which if it weren't found, there's something wrong. If it's not an integer, there's something wrong. Yeah, then, let's see. So then we know how many coins the player has, and then we know how much healing is available, so then we can figure out like what the maximum whole integer amount of healing that we can afford is. So let's see how that works. Trying to think if there's an easier way to do this than iterating through every option. There should be. trying to math on stream is nerve-wracking. Let's see. So I should be able to figure out what the maximum I can afford is, which would be oh, right. So, all right. And this accessor function, so I can actually just request a float from it, even though it should be an integer. I guess I'll just work with everything in floats, even though it's kind of weird. I really want it. Yeah, whatever. I feel like this really should be in integers, so I'm going to do that. Even though it doesn't make much of a difference, it'll just kind of put my mind at ease. So then the maximum number of units that we can afford would be the number of coins we have divided by the unit cost rounded down. All right. And then the actual number we want is whichever is smaller between those, and that by that. Okay, so that should work if all of my math and logic there is correct. Essentially we're saying like healing available, this is the total number of units of health that we can heal. Maximum affordable is the total number of units of health that we can afford to heal, regardless if that goes beyond our health cap. The actual number that we want to heal is whichever is smaller between those two, and then we'll multiply our per healing unit cost by that actual number. So I may have trouble showing this one without just running around a bit to get some money first so I can actually test both of those scenarios, but we'll see. I really should have like some debug functions where I can just give myself money and ammo and stuff. Surprisingly, I managed to ship Gunmetal Arcadia 0 without that, and I think as I get deeper into like balancing this game, that may become something I need, especially next month as I start looking at like items and stuff. It would be really nice to be able to say I could just give myself this item, give myself this much money, all that sort of stuff. So I don't know, may need to put some cheat codes in there for that. Oh, I finally broke my almost negative 100 streak because I've been just testing this game so much. And anytime that like I shut down a session midway, it counts as a death. I had like a negative streak of almost 100, but I actually did play through a full session this morning and won the game. Alright, so let's see what was in here. It was probably shopkeeper. Let's see if there's any torches, but there's not. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and kill these guys, see if they drop any money. If this doesn't pan out, then what I'll do instead, just to make things a little bit quicker, is go into the editor and change the base value of healing so that, you know, I can at least prove it out with just these 2 coins here. Or 8 coins, or whatever I have. Alright, well, alright, so that's one. Oh, I forgot to recompile that, so that's what that is. Why would that be 1? That should be right. Oh, no, I know why that is. Alright, so there's a couple things going on there. One, I forgot to rebuild content after trying to make that option conditional. But then the other thing is I'm clamping to 1, which this was showing up as 0 earlier. I'm not sure why, because I still had this clamped to 1 there. Anyway, for healing, I don't want that right now. Basically, the reason I had that in there was so that if discounts on items or something made them be effectively worthless, less than 1 gold, to where they would round down to 0, I still wanted to clamp it to 1, so you never buy and sell items for 0 units. Like, that just doesn't make sense. Except for, I do have the concept of worthless goods, which I think I only use that for the faction sigils, because those are free. And I'll be doing more with those in Gunmetal Arcadia, the roguelike game, where probably every time you meet a faction leader, you can choose to take a sigil from them, and hopefully whatever effects those have scale throughout the game. Like maybe they increase your strength, increase appearance of loot drops and that sort of thing, and the more of those you find, the stronger those effects become. There was some of that stuff that I wanted to do in 0 and just didn't really have time to pursue any of it. Because I sort of had to crunch to get that game done on time. But yeah, I want to make that sort of faction presence something that feels like a permanent part of this world. So that'll be one of those things next month as I'm working on items that I'll be paying a lot of attention to, is making sure the faction leaders feel like something that you actually want to pay attention to as you're playing the game. Because right now they don't really do anything at all. So let's see. Oh, right. The other thing I was going to do was wasn't it? Oh, no, it wasn't heal. Heal rate. Yeah. So the ones I actually need to change here should just be these 3. Yeah, I think all those others are unused. Which really I do need to migrate this up into like the healer base class or whatever. But for now, I'll just set the heal rate to 2 for all of these. Yeah, I think I must have done a test of like faction healers, because I have a Vanguard healer but not a Seeker healer. So I think that was like test content that I was working on for 0 that I didn't actually use. Anyway, I will recompile that. see if the game's done compiling yet. Yes. Alright, so now what I should be able to do is collect, a couple of coins like I did in the previous session, and then go and see if this is actually working correctly. I think the loot drops should be the same, but I'm actually not sure. Those might be random still. And apparently they are random. Weird. I wonder if that's a bug. I'm not sure. Or if it's yeah, I can't remember now what my intent there was. But like in Gunmetal Arcadia 0, some things are deterministic, like enemies will always choose the same actions from session to session, but then some things are actually completely random, like what loot drops from torches and stuff, so maybe I'm doing the same thing here. Alright, anyway, I have 5 health, or 5 gold. I'm gonna take some damage from something somewhere, so I can prove that this is working. So, my expectation now is I can use 3 units of healing. I can afford 2 units of healing, so it should prompt me to pay 4 gold for 2 units of healing. And that's not working. Huh. Okay. I'm not sure why that is. I will go ahead and do a debug build in that case. I don't like doing debug builds on streams because I have a lot of asserts that pop up right now, and not only does it look terrible, it's really irritating because each assert makes noise. But I do kind of want to step through this in debugger and see what's going on. So here are all those asserts. And there will be more asserts while it generates the level. Also, generating levels kind of takes a while in debug builds. Alright, there we go. So I'm going to do the same thing this time. I'm going to try to get a few coins. I don't want keys, I want coins. Alright, there we go. So 3 coins. Yeah, I could prove this with 3 or 5. I'll do the same thing as last time. 5 coins, 3 units of healing, and see what's going on there. Make sure I have my 3 point in the right place. All right. Okay, so healing available should be 3. Unit cost. Wait, why is unit cost still 10? Unit cost should be 2. Okay, so I see what was happening. Yeah, so it's the unit cost is still 10 for some reason. I'm not sure where that's coming from. But then, yeah, it's so I can't afford even a single unit. But then, because right now I don't have the, I guess I don't have the message for not being able to afford the, or well, yeah, something's not right there. It should not let me heal for 0 units, and instead it's saying, oh, well, you can't afford any, so we'll make this free, and then it still heals me fully. So that's what's going on there. Now why? Maybe there was something else in here that I... Generic healer, I'm certain I don't use that one. Healer mix-in, I don't think I'm using, but I guess I will set that one anyway, just to be safe. Generic healer base. I guess I could. The healer base, it should be overriding that, but yeah, well, that's just that's an instance markup anyway, so it's not going to use that one. I don't know why I keep closing this. I don't have to. All right, well, one of those should work. Let's see. Oops. You know what? Ah, yeah, it is using the healer mix-in. I totally forgot I was doing that. Okay, so I understand what's going on now. And it should be working now. Let's see. Well, parts of it should be working. I still need to fix the case of, oops, you couldn't afford anything, so let's give you everything for free. But aside from that, it should be working. Do the same thing as last time. 5 coins, 3 hearts. So now my expectation, again, is it should be 4 gold. Alright. And I don't think, yeah, it's not actually going to heal the correct amount yet, but it's charging me the right amount. Okay, so the next part of this is it needs to only heal as much as it can actually heal. And where that's happening right now is it's heal other cap, which just means restore fully all the way to the health cap. Obviously, I can't do that. I need to do heal by whatever amount I can actually afford, whatever amount I've actually paid for. So that needs to be saved off wherever I calculate this act heal cost, I suppose. So that'll be actual heal amount. Replacement term down here. So then, so what I'll do is where I have this calculate healing cost function, this will not only return the cost, it will also have it'll have an out parameter where I can specify the actual amount of healing being done. So let's see. that would just be this again. Excuse me. All right, so that may be all I need to do. I'll look that over again as it's compiling. So I get the heal amount there, print it to a string there, and that string is just used. Then it goes into this replacement term, so wherever I wrote actual heal amount in the markup, it will replace that with just the literal text there, so it will be heal other that amount, and yeah, that should work. I don't see any problems there, so once this builds and links again, I will try that same test case and it should work correctly. Yeah, I guess then the only thing will be changing the messaging so that if the amount you're being healed is less than the maximum, then it needs to probably message that a little bit differently. And I guess I may need to test the case of if you don't have any money at all, if you can't afford any healing, see what happens in that case. Because probably right now it will say, oh, you can't afford anything, so we will give you free healing of 0 units. So it will probably act like you're being healed and not actually do anything. But yeah, I'll have to test that one. I think that's what would happen in this case anyway. But since I'm already like 45, 50 minutes into this stream, what I'm going to do is, as long as this thing works, I'll save that messaging stuff for later off-stream work, and then go ahead and start working on the stone treasure chest, because I do want to knock that one out on stream, because I think that should hopefully be a little more interesting to watch than, you know, recompiling and relinking builds, because it should be mostly content creation on that one. Which I guess I can start taking a look at that. Treasure chests are all under test for some reason. I probably should rename that. So droppable stone chest is just a direct descendant of stone chest. Stone chest has a few base entities, including money dropper, gem dropper. So yeah, I'll probably actually just replace those with a couple new loot dropper types for, like, you know, big heart and shields and whatever else. Probably just create a new loot dropper type specifically for this thing. And then I don't know. I'm not sure whether these stone chests should drop just one thing if it's, you know, a valuable enough thing, or if they should drop 2 or 3 things. I guess it depends on how often they show up, how rare and special they should be. I'll probably start with just one thing and see how that feels. Alright. Anyway, back to this. Let's see. This should hopefully be the last last test of this thing I need to do. Just gonna repeat the same test again. Now I have too much money. Well, I'll just step through this a couple times. Alright, so I can, yeah, I will have to run through this twice. Image needs should say, I guess it's good to have a chance to test this. The maximum I can be healed in this case is 5 units, and each one costs 2, so that's correct there. That does heal me fully, leaves me with 4 coins. Yeah, because I had tested the opposite case there, but it does work right. How much are green worth? 9. So do the same thing again, get down to half a heart remaining. And now I should only be able to afford 2 full hearts, leaving me with 1/2. Okay, that's correct. Oh, good. So yeah, this is correct too. And this will probably do what I was saying, where it will allow me to rest for 0. And, oh, that's not what I expected. Huh. I expected that to do nothing. I'm not sure why that one healed me. Unless, I don't know, I have to step to that in debugger, or maybe trying to heal 0 units. Maybe I'm clamping that to 1 also somewhere in the healing function. I will make a note to fix that one off stream, but yeah, I'll go ahead and switch over to the next task now. I think this one is good enough that I can call it there for today. Let's see. So yeah, start working on these stone chests. Which for this one, I'm gonna increase the weight of these things to like a bazillion, and then let's see. What's the last thing I did in here? Right. Changed that weight there. Now just do the same thing here, but for treasure rooms. Alright, start that compiling. I will also need to rebuild content because I made a change to the opportunity list. And I guess I'll go ahead and start working with this. So yeah, let's see. Where I had money dropper and gem dropper, I will get rid of both of those. Those would be under, where was that? Loot tables. Yes, loot tables here. So yeah, I'll just make a copy of one of these to start with. I don't like calling this stone chest dropper because it actually has nothing to do with stone chest necessarily, but I can rename it later. Essentially what I want to do is this will only be the stuff that this thing can drop. I'm not going to concatenate this with any other loot tables, so yeah, I don't need to worry about a lot of this stuff right now. Let's see, so the things that this could drop would be a big heart, shield, big ammo, which I need to add, and for right now, I will just weight them all evenly. I'll go back and figure out what those will be later. Make sure to name all those right. Alright, yeah. Yeah, here we go. So then I will also make a copy of, where did it go? Yeah. Make a copy of ammo, call this big ammo, give it a value of 5. And I will see if this is there. I won't create a new sprite for that yet since this is done compiling, but I will add a sprite for that before the stream is over. And that should be good. I think I can just do this. Oh, my clicky keyboard, I use a Unicomp keyboard, which is essentially an IBM Model M. It's produced by the same factory, I guess, that used to make Model M keyboards. They just don't have the IBM license at this point, so they call them Unicomps instead. But yeah, it's super old school. I've tried like MX Cherry keys and stuff, and I don't know. I don't like those as much as like spring buckling, whatever you call those. But yeah, this one is definitely noisy. It took me a little while to get used to, but at this point, like I don't know, I love the way it sounds, love the way it feels. Why is this a healer? That should not be a healer. Alright, anyway, here we go. Here's a stone chest. So let's see what this drops. Oh! Okay, that's cool. I'm not sure what happened there. Oh, I know what happened there. I forgot to go back and actually add the thing here. Alright, there we go. So I created the loot table and I wasn't actually using it, so it was trying to spawn loot when it had no loot tables available, and I guess I don't handle that case correctly, so it crashed. There's probably one in here. There's not one in there. Is there one in here? Maybe. Yes. Alright. Okay, so it drops a big heart, a shield, and a key. So that all seems to be working correctly. Probably it will not drop 3 things. Probably it will just drop one of those, assuming that those are sort of rare and nice enough to make that feel worth spending a bomb on, which I think they do. Same thing. Alright, so that's cool. The other thing I need to do is set the number of rolls to 1 instead of 3, so it only drops 1 thing. And then I will go ahead and start working on the sprite for that thing. So I'm going to blow this up to twice its size. Also going to paint in the backdrop with black because magenta is really hard on the eyes. And basically I'm just going to do a sort of a high-res version of the same sprite that I had in there previously. I don't think I've ever really done like any spriting on stream before. I don't really have a good method for it. It's kind of just like eyeballing stuff and saying like, does that feel pretty good to me? I am not an artist. I would not call myself an artist at all. I would call myself a programmer who knows enough about art to get by. So yeah, that feels pretty good to me. Yeah, that goes a little bit high. So without the grid, yeah, it feels alright. Maybe if I brought this one over here. No, not like that. And I don't know, maybe I don't know. I'm not sure if I want this one to be perfectly symmetric or not. It feels alright. Actually, I'll switch this around the other way. There we go. And then I'll just also shift this over by 1 so it's at least a little bit more centered. Make a few copies of that, and then just like in this one, have this band that sort of cuts through it. every couple of frames. That should be good enough. At least good enough to get me started. Go ahead and save that. I might actually want to extend that to like 8 frames of animation, or at least 6 or something. But we'll see. It doesn't really matter, but I'll take the preview dimensions here to compensate. And then let's change the dimensions on this idle animation. Also change, I'll make this slightly bigger. It doesn't have to be too much bigger. Maybe a little bit bigger. The collision is also offset a little bit. I might take a look at the big heart in a minute and see how I handled the collision on that one. Actually, yeah, look at that one right now. Yeah, this one is 11 by 11. Yeah, it looks like it's, again, offset a little bit. And that's just so that, actually I don't remember why it was. I think it was kind of a legacy thing of early on when I was figuring out how to do animations for things, I wanted them to be able to like sort of fall and rest 1 or 2 pixels into the ground a little bit. I don't know. There's probably no reason those collision bands need to be offset, but they are. There we go. Good enough. I may tweak that a little bit depending on whether or not I like how it looks, but I'll go with that, and that should be all I really need to do for those stone chests. They should be able to drop these big ammo refills, and that should give me 5 stars. Although, because I'm starting a game here where I'm already at the maximum, it's not going to really, you're not going to see it. And I don't have a sub-weapon on me, so I can't spend ammo. But I will trust that that one works. And I guess I'm going to have to run through a few of these to make sure, well, run through a few of these until I get one where it shows up. I should have increased the appearance rate of stone chests as rewards for challenge rooms too, because now this one's probably not going to do that. Yeah, well it is anyway, I got lucky. I'm still not getting the ammo drops. Yeah, why are these all dropping shields? Maybe I need to just go in there and change the loot rate just to just to test to make sure it works. Give it one more try. Maybe 2. So just to test and make sure this works, I'm gonna change the weight on the big ammo up to 10,000, so that should stop over everything else. keep forgetting there's not one in there. Yay! So I can't actually prove that it's going to give me the correct map, but it drops the thing and it looks correct, and alright. Change that back before I forget, before there's only ever dropped ammo. So I'll figure out what the weighting on these is at some later time, and you know, I don't know, maybe it would make more sense if the chests dropped 2 of these. So I'll go ahead and make that change. And play around with it and see how it feels. But go ahead and compile these and revert the hex I have on the code side here. And also, where's the other one here? Do that. Yeah, that. I guess that's probably it for this stream. I don't really want to sit through another big recompile just to test all of it again. But yeah, I guess I'll just call it a stream there. Thanks for watching. This will be up on YouTube again before too long. So yeah, see you next time.